Hey, now I'm back already. Wednesday, the ninth. Is it the 8th or ninth? Or is it Thursday? See? it's Thursday already. Good Lord, I just woke up. Excuse me. Excuse me. So, the thing that prompted me to say, well, I'll go ahead and speak today because as we have not lost, as is the case these days, we've lost another giant in the music world. Robbie Shakespeare, legendary bass player of the duo Sly and Robbie, passed away. Apparently he was not well for a while. I didn't know. He's played with everyone. I pulled this to play last night. Babylon I Rebel, a Sly and Robbie release. I did see those two play a couple times, and I met Sly and Robbie. I didn't have my camera. Why didn't I get a selfie that night? Because I like to get selfies. I talked to him, but I didn't get a selfie. So I'm glad to say that I got to shake that hand. Legendary bassist, legendary. If you want to know how to play reggae right, you listen to Robbie Shakespeare or Aston Family Man Barrett from Bob Marley. Here's one I pulled last night right away that Robbie is on. The Mighty Diamonds. This is classic reggae. Right time. Okay. Roots. I'll share this. When I joined a reggae band back in the 90s, which was led by Muddy Waters' stepson, Bobby. Yeah, I played with Muddy Waters' stepson. And one of the members, an ex-member of the Gladiators and a backup singer for the Ethiopians, Melvin Reed, joined us. When he joined us, he schooled me. He said, "Man, that ain't no reggae bass you playing. Boom Maklat." That's when I found out what that's all about. Boom Maklat, that bass. That's bullshit. He told me my bass was bullshit for reggae, and I thought I was kicking it because I was playing it like I play, which is a lot of groove and butt, and I learned from Mello that that's not the purpose of the bass in reggae. His explanation to me was that you let the drummer drive the groove and the hips. The bass is the earth, the foundation on which everything else is laid upon. And when he laid that on me, and when I got it, because it was hard. It was hard to take that swing out and just make it firm. Listen to the way Robbie Shakespeare and Aston Man play the bass. They don't groove; they hold it down. That was quite a lesson I learned. It was very humbling too, which is something that a lot of people. Some good humbling would help some of us. So I want to just say rest in peace, Robbie Shakespeare. He was, a giant. A giant. He's played with everyone. I mean, everyone from Bob Dylan to, I thought about maybe grabbing some records. I got a bunch of records that he's on. Culture 2/7 Clash, that's another absolute classic. Interestingly, because I look up to see, well, what do I have that he's on? Glasses. Here's something I bought last year. Electronic artist, Vladislav Delay with Sly and Robbie. 500 push-up. I have to play this again because when I bought it and my first impression of it was, what's going on here? It sounded like everything was recorded real far away and strange, so I have to listen to this now. It's like very interesting. Very interesting. Terry, I will speak to you directly. I agree with you, and that's my position too. Even before you brought it up, for me, the discovery of progressive rock and who I think in the history of it, what sounds to me like was the beginnings of what we call progressive rock was Frank Zappa, Mothers of Invention, 1966. There's probably some other stuff going on at that time, as well as Zappa, that predates King Crimson and Moody Blues, who are generally accepted as the beginning of progressive rock by most mainstream. But I think you're on it, Terry, that Frank Zappa was just so far ahead of the pack, doing exactly what he wanted to, mixing styles and just exploring. Absolutely. Interestingly, that Robbie passed away on the anniversary of John Lennon's passing. There was an awful lot of talk about that, and I think it was again goosed by the Peter Jackson document, Let It Be, recently being shown that everybody's got Beatles on their minds now. So there was a flood of John Lennon online yesterday, and I went ahead and finally added my 2 cents and played some of this last night. Imagine soundtrack to the motion picture. There's a rehearsal of the song Imagine on here, which is kind of cool here. It's real short, but it's John Lennon is someone. Now George Harrison is my favorite Beatle, and I feel like I'm the most like him as a person. But of the other Beatles, the last person of the Beatles I would want to have met would be Paul McCartney. It would be George, John, Ringo, and Paul. That's the order of interest I have in the Beatles. So yeah, I rocked some John Lennon yesterday. Okay. And I worked yesterday in my studio almost all day otherwise. Excuse me, I don't have the bass. Excuse me. Don't have the bass part yet for Dave. I have one recorded, but I'm not sending it to him yet because it's like, I can improve this. I'm still learning it. But as a result, it got me to start. I started a new track of my own. I'm not going to play it yet. But I love it when I get excited and want to start a new track, and so that's what I'm working on. I also brought in this is the bass that I mainly use when I play out. I have 4 basses. The one that you see in pictures online a lot is my old Ibanez, but this is the workhorse. It's not expensive. Get my fingers loosened up for today. This is the one I use, right? I got to get warmed up for today. Music. I'll add a little more. So besides working in the studio, I went ahead and I'll get on Jags, okay? So everybody else is all on the Beatles. My latest Jag is, I like documentaries, and I'll get on Jags. And so the latest one is hip-hop documentaries, because it's like, okay, let me find out more about some of these people and this music. And what I want to share that it brought to surface watching stories about Kid Cudi and Lil Uzi Vert and a bunch of people, just learning about their story. The thing that it just kept reminding me of is like, all along growing up, I've always been the odd man out. I'm the odd duck. In other words, I've never been the kind of kid who wants to fit in and be a part of the gang and feel like I have to do what everyone else is doing. I grew up the first part of my life in a mixed neighborhood that was predominantly white, and my parents did it on purpose so we could assimilate. This is back in the 60s. So we could assimilate, into white culture. So when I moved over to the north side, to the ghetto, we were considered Uncle Toms and made fun of, because me and my brothers and sisters, I talk like I talk. I was a straight A student, okay? So what I'm saying is I've always carved out my own niche in this world. And that's why I'm not a quote-unquote hip-hop person, because that is not a reflection of my personal values or how I've ever lived. Wild and out and just a lot of that behavior back when I was a teen and my older brothers and sisters started having parties. The thing that I liked about the parties was dancing. I loved to dance. I was still a preteen. And then the girl thing started to happen and the sex thing started to happen at the parties. And I did not like that. The main reason I didn't like it was because there was this air of danger, selfishness, weirdness, and cruelty. I'm gonna go because I was a quiet kid, but because of my present, people like me. Okay, they want to be around me. But what I kept encountering by trying to be with groups of kids and people. I'll give an example, a real specific example. So I danced as a kid. We danced, okay? And I was in dance groups with my sisters, and I was also in a dance group with my buddies in 7th grade. And we fashioned ourselves after the Temptations. And we were good, okay? So we got attention. And I remember this one specific party. I'm giving a lot of information. John, I won't say his last name, but at that time, John was one of my very best friends, and he's already gone, rest in peace. He was one of Buddy Miles's first cousins, okay? This is the connection to the Buddy Miles. But one day after some kind of talent show or something where we smashed it as the dance troupe, John had a party at his mom's house. Mom's away, and we're not supposed to be having a party. We're a bunch of kids, okay? And I didn't stay at the party because it was dangerous. There's people having sex up in his parents' bedroom. There's close to rape happening in the main room. And what I would encounter is, because of my quiet nature, is that other guys who were jackasses assumed I was gay and would try to assault me or to, as they say, get me open, get that brown dot. All these things were brought back to mind as I watched these documentaries and watching the culture, the popular culture of mass people, and energy, and how that can be very exciting and thrilling. And I like some of the music, I like the energy, but the other part of it, I've always been mad that people are mostly so dumb and cruel, and that my experience, especially with trying to be a sexual person, has been really a lot of negative, cruel, selfish events I've dealt with. Those things come up while watching these things. So it's just sort of to explain, not that I need to, but it's like I get to. This is why I'm who I am, okay? This music represents a world that makes sense to me, that I want to live in. I don't want to be dealing with friends who are just on the edge of sanity or common sense. There's a lot of stuff that people like to do for fun that just is really stupid, and I just want no part of it. So that's what came up from watching those docs, and in examining and looking at different people's lives, Lil Wayne still strikes me as someone that if he had gotten off on a different foot, he'd be a very powerful, intelligent man. I don't come away thinking that about too much of these other guys. They're all right. You can see how they got a good focus. Metro Boomin, mad respect for his skills, okay? And so then I'll go that further. I'm listening to the music, I'm listening to the beat, and I don't try to play that beat. It's not me. The beat is that main hip-hop beat that we hear is very sexual to me, which is not a bad thing. It's just that that's not my focus in making the music. I like a groove and I like a beat. and I know that it's that women respond to bass, and it is important, to make music for everyone. But that ain't why I'm making music to attract sex at all. It's not. Never was. Never was. Those are my thoughts today, folks. You can share yours with me. And I can see now that the volume and the sound is there. Okay, so turn your PC up.